Hello, can you please state your name and age?
My name is Joshua Pearl, and I am 20 years old.
Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Montreal. I lived there for a year. However, afterwards my family moved back to Toronto, where I lived for about 3 years. After that, we moved to the States, where I now live in New York for the past 13 or so years.
Have you lived in any other countries besides the United States and Canada?
No, those are the only two.
While in Canada, what would you say when greeting a friend?
I would most likely say, hey bud, or hey buddy. Also just regular hey or hi or what's up is also very acceptable.
Do you ever use any sort of handshake?
No, nothing out of the ordinary that any American handshake, just a regular handshake, yeah.
And do you use any gestures that, do you have any greetings that differ if it's just like quickly passing by in like the hallway in comparison to just like if you have time to stop and chat?
Well, I would say that if I was to stop and chat, then it would be more of a conversation where you could really tell the differences between a Canadian conversation and American conversation, but just in greeting, I think it would still be hey or hey bud.
Okay. What about if you're addressing a person in a formal fashion, such as an employer in Canada?
I would definitely not use hey bud or hey buddy. I would probably do good afternoon, good morning, hello, how are you?
And would you say the same things if you're in the United States, greeting an employer or a business?
Most likely.
Okay. What about a family member?
Family member, I probably would not use hey bud or hey buddy. It's much more of a person who's around your age sort of thing, a generational thing. I would not greet my parents like that because they're not necessarily my bud or my buddy, but rather my mom or dad.
And while you were, I know it's a difficult question, but do you have any idea of when these phrases came about in your mind? Like, did someone teach you to say this, or did it come about organically?
These came about spending approximately 9 or 10 years in Canada for the summer. I would notice that a lot of these greetings are centered around usually kids that play hockey, and given that in Canada most young men have played hockey at least once or a few times, whether formally or informally, or are very, regardless, hockey's a very big part of the culture. So I would say that much of these phrases of bud, buddy, those come about through sports.
And what about if you were greeting a fellow Canadian on campus? Would your greeting change compared to an American?
Well, there'd be no way to really identify a Canadian outright, but
if you knew they were Canadian like ahead of time.
I would say that hey bud or hey buddy would probably be used.
So far we've talked about how you would greet employers, family members, and friends. Is there any difference between how you would greet a friend of the opposite gender?
As in a female or woman, yes, I would say so. I wouldn't necessarily use hey bud or hey buddy. I have caught myself saying it one or a few times to girls, but I noticed that these girls generally are very into hockey, have played in very competitive leagues, and that's when I would catch myself saying it to them, because usually they'll also slip into that sort of Canadian hockey lingo of bud, buddy, but generally I would not use that type of greeting with a person of the opposite gender.
So what would you say to them?
I would just usually say hey or what's up or how's it going, but probably not bud or